Hey guys, it's Cal from the Lighting Doctor here. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this consultation series. We're going to give you all kinds of tips and tricks for effectively and properly lighting up your home. This is a free consultation that we do for all our clients. So if you want to get your free consultation, just shoot me an email at cal@lightingdoctor.ca. Send me a few pictures and we'll give you a video presentation of what lights are going to work best with your property, or go and visit us at lightingdoctor.ca or go check out all our videos on YouTube.
Hey, Chris, thanks for sending me your pictures here. I'll walk you through a couple ideas for the house. I mean, you've got a great property here. So many cool things you can do with the brickwork and these cool trees that you have all over the property. So I'll walk you through a couple examples. The computer's been a little bit slow today, so hopefully this will hold up. But first thing I would do is I would focus on the house and focus on accenting some of the nice brickwork that you have there, just using some standard accent lights. Now the only thing is I'm going to talk about a slightly brighter bulb for some of the areas such as the trees and the second stories of the house, just because you're going to have to push that light a little bit further, and a standard 20 watt equivalent, which is a 4 watt LED lamp, is not going to do the best job of getting the light up there. So you want to use something a little bit brighter, and I will make that suggestion as we go, and as if we end up putting a kit together, we can kind of customize that so we have the proper lamps and everything in there. But what I would do is I would try and get 3 accent lights across this side of the house here, probably about 18 inches back or so, and almost have them shining just straight up, because really what you want to do is just highlight the texture and the brickwork that you have here. I would do the same across this front of the house. Now, because you have the door here, I think the way that you're going to want to do this one is have it balanced so that you've got an uplight here, and then you've got one kind of beside the door here. Now I know you have these lights, but you're not going to have these on all the time. Ideally, if there's room, but it might be concrete by this side of the door, if you can get an accent light in there too, so you have them on both sides of the door, and then the 2 here is the perfect situation. But you might not be able to do that, so you may have to just have that last one here. And with these lights that you're going to use on this section of the house, you're going to want to use a slightly brighter lamp. So this is where we would upgrade to a 35 watt equivalent lamp, because we want to be able to push that light to that second tier of the house. And then something else, 2 dark areas that you're going to find is, one, probably in this back corner, you're probably going to want another accent light. I couldn't really see if there was a tree or something kind of in that back corner, but if there is something, I probably would try and accent that and have it almost shine through a little bit so you catch some of that stonework. But the reason you want to do that is because otherwise you end up with this big dark corner here from different viewing angles of the property. So you definitely want to have a light somewhere in there. It looks like there might be a window here too. What you could do is actually just have that light kind of at the base of the window, again, that just catches the wall and shows off the nice texturing of the brickwork that you have there. And then another area that you're going to want is probably this second story here, because you're going to have the light here, and if you can get one here, that's great, but then it's going to kind of create a shadow and you're going to have a little dark area here. So you're going to want to mount one of the accent lights just above the door here to catch this second story. A lot of times people will ask, well, isn't that going to shine in the window and be too bright? And not necessarily, because you're going to have that, again, shining more up than you will at the house. And something else I'd probably recommend with that light, just to make it a little bit softer, is using a frosted filter here. I'll show you. It's basically just this little glass piece that fits underneath the lens, so that it just helps dampen that light a little bit so it's not too bright in a smaller area like that. You can mount that. We have these gutter mounts, if there's a gutter there, that are easy to mount, or any mounting bracket that you can find at Home Depot or whatever it is that has a 1/2 inch thread, because that's the size of the thread on the bottom of the fixture. So rather than screwing it into a ground stake, you just screw it into that mounting bracket. But I would definitely do that. And then I would keep the theme consistent with the accent lights on this side of the house too, same as you've done over here. So you've got that nice balance of lighting all across the front of the house here. So that would be the very first area I would start with. And then if we move on to some different areas, I know that there's some pictures of some different landscape features here. I think it really depends what you're going to end up being putting around all of this. because we're going to focus, I think, on the texture of the brickwork, which I just find stands out more. You're not going to want to light every single tree. That being said, you know, a tree like this that's kind of on the corner, you probably want to get an accent light on this guy here, because from this angle, looking at the house, that's going to fill a nice hole. On some of these lower line shrubs and bushes that you have, even though you've got this backlit, you're going to be bringing another level of light. So a lower, less intense light that's more up front, and using a wash light like this is a perfect example for that, because they're not as bright as an accent light, and they do a really good job of highlighting these lower line shrubs. So that might be where I might throw one in front of this bush, and then I've got the nice stonework backlit, but then I have this shrub that stands out. I've got this guy that stands out, and maybe I've got this guy that stands out. And if you did that, then you could probably avoid having to put that one uplight that I talked about in the corner, because you're kind of filling that dark hole. That being said, if this was a project that I was doing, I would probably start with the house first, and I would wait on that stuff and just plan to leave some extra wire. So if you wanted to highlight some of those, you could. Again, you probably, by the looks of things, might be changing some stuff in the landscape. So I have a feeling that you might be adding more lights anyway. So I would just plan for that. But just keep in mind that any of these that stand out that you want to highlight, I would use that wash light. And a good way to know if it's going to stand out is once you have all these kind of lights lit up, and then maybe you've thrown an accent light on this tree, maybe on this one here you've thrown an accent light kind of more on this side, so it's not exactly stealing away from the front of the house here, but as you're looking at it from this angle, you've got this lit up. Then what you do is you take a step back, and if you notice any dark areas that you say, hey, you know what, I think a wash light just to highlight, you know, maybe these two guys here would fill in the gaps underneath the window, because we have this middle section lit up. Then maybe we throw a guy on here and a guy on here, so it just kind of helps you know, create some light around that area. Another thing that you could do is, so if I look at some of these big trees, I mean, you're definitely going to want to take advantage of that. I would probably accent, you know, for example, a tree like this with just an uplight here, because we want to really accentuate the entranceway, but we don't necessarily need to get light across it. If you did want to light the actual driveway area or this area here, we do have a new light that I would highly recommend. These modern path lights are so popular. They're so durable. They are quite bright, so you don't need a lot of them. So in an area like that, you could maybe have, you know, what I might do is we're going to accent this. So I might have one somewhere over here, somewhere over here, and somewhere over here, maybe 3 to 4 of those along this whole pathway area or driveway area. I think would do a really good job. But something else I will suggest is, if you want the most bang for your buck, taking advantage of these trees. So what I would do, on any of these trees, you're going to need more than one light, just guaranteed, because of the sheer size of them. So I would probably try and get an accent light on the different viewing angles. So for example, I'd probably try and get one on this side and on that side. Now what you use is up to you, whether you want to use an uplight, which is going to be a little bit more cost effective, or an in-ground light. And the only difference is they're going to do the same thing. Either way, you're going to want to use a brighter bulb that's at least a 50 watt equivalent to push that light up. The nice thing about the in-ground light is that you don't see the fixture at all. And then the path light is more affordable, but you're going to see just the top section of it. So if that doesn't mind, they're basically going to do the same thing. So you can kind of decide. My preference, just to keep the costs down, if you can, is just to use some uplights if they're not in a high traffic area and you don't have to worry about you know, doing a lot of maintenance or anything around them. Then I would probably use those. So I'd probably have 2 at least on this tree, and then on this guy here, it's going to be a little tricky. You're going to have to kind of play around, but I think you're going to need a couple. You know, you probably are going to want to try and get one, you know, somewhere in here, and you might have to angle it a bit to catch that part of the stem. You're probably going to have 1 or 2 out further that's just going to be shining up in the canopy, and again, using that brighter light, you're going to have some wasted light in the air, but you're also going to catch a lot of that canopy, and really that's what you want to do. So I think you're probably going to want to have like 2 of them kind of out here that are shining just up into this canopy, and then try and get one, you know, even if it was here, that kind of went up the side of the trunk here, so that you're highlighting some of that. Now, the thing to take it to the next level is some downlighting. So using that same light that we just talked about, but mounting it up in the tree. And you can do that quite easily with our tree stake mounts. It's basically just got, again, a 1/2-inch thread and this just screws right into the tree, as you can see here. And then you mount that fixture up in the tree and have that shining down. And I would, if you didn't want to use a bunch of path lights, that's where I would probably try and get 1 or 2 of those lights up here and have them shining down. What's cool about that is it creates what we call a moonlight effect. And the higher up you can get it, the cooler that effect is, because if you can have that light kind of shining through some branches, then it kind of does the shadowing pattern like in the daytime. It does that at night, and it looks phenomenal. You know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, having 2 or 3 of those up there shining down would do an amazing job of lighting this whole area. And then same thing, you could do that over here. You could have 1 or 2 of those on this tree here that kind of shine and catch some of this area. So maybe four of those I think would do a really good job of highlighting anything along the pathway. And then if you had any features in here that you wanted to highlight, you could also mount some and have them in here. Nobody pretty much knows they're there except for you, but at night it looks really good. For some tips on how to mount those, just go on YouTube, search Lighting Doctor tree mounting tips, and there'll be some videos there. So I know that's a lot. Hopefully that gives you some good ideas. The last thing that I will mention, and there's no rush, again, you got these cool trees here. I would definitely try and get an accent light on this guy here and highlight that. I mean, you've got lots of stuff. You could try and pick out maybe 2 of these trees to accent with. Either, I think a wash light would probably be all you need, unless these are going to grow, I would say 15 feet tall or higher. Then you could use an accent light, because eventually you're going to want that light up there. I would start with that, highlighting the house. I mean, anywhere where you have these big trees, even in the back, I would try and get some accent lights and some bright ones, because that helps with the front lighting. Because now as you're looking at this house, the house looks amazing, the trees in the front look awesome, and then you've got this tree backlit. And what you can do too is you can even mount that lights higher up in the tree and have them shining up to catch some of these peaks. And you can do the same thing here. You're going to get a good amount of that light up by using those higher intensity bulbs. But if you want to even highlight these a little bit more, you can always try and get another light in here that shines up, and then another light in the crook here that shines up, and then it does an even better job of really highlighting and making those big featured trees. So Chris, I know that's a lot of info. Hopefully it gives you some good ideas. Feel free to reach out with any more questions. And if you want us to start kind of customizing a kit with some of those, just kind of give us an idea of what ideas you like, and then we can start putting some things together. Again, thanks so much, Chris, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video presentation with some great tips and tools on how to go and properly and effectively light up your landscape. And be sure, if you want your own free consultation video just like that one, send me an email at cal@lightingdoctor.ca with a few pictures of your property, and we'll get back to you with some really cool ideas and ways to go and effectively light your property. And be sure to watch the videos after this one for more tips on how to install landscape lighting, as well as how to light up your landscape the best way possible.